Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Man Alone YouTube channel. I am Man Alone, and today we are going to resume our adventures in the Forbidden Lands. If you watched episode 1, we started drawing up a hunter-explorer combo character. And the reason for that is to have a character who explores the solo-specific profession offered in the Book of Beasts of Explorer, as well as having a hunter component, hunter background, in order to get the Path of the Beast, which will allow us to have an animal companion, which I enjoy the idea of that for solo play. So we have a couple of things still to figure out to draw up here before we start playing, specifically our gear. And when I sat back down to look at the character sheet that I drew up, I was a little bit confused about what the hell I was doing on some of these things. So first of all, I used NPC generator to get myself some physical characteristics for my dude. They don't have any options that I can see in the Forbidden Lands books. They say their appearance can be their appearance, which is fine. I sort of understand that. It's probably quite an undertaking to consider the wide range of appearances, etc. But a little bit of disappointment in that especially as a solo player, but really in anything, I like to have an idea of what my character looks like, because it helps me to understand the character better, especially if there's anything that is prominent, either something prominent that would attract positive attention or prominent negative attention, because my theory about characters in tabletop games as well as humans is that, especially before the age of, say, 35, a lot of the persona that somebody presents to the world is there to accomplish two things: to hide the things they don't want you to see, and to try and over-exaggerate the things that they do want you to see, whether those things are there or not on either side of that. Most people fail spectacularly on both accounts, and this is the sort of tragic-hilarity of human existence, is like you spend most of your early life trying to prove something that nobody cares about, and or that people who do care about are junk, so it shouldn't matter anyways. But I will say that the most valuable thing that I got from that npcgenerator.com was a last name of Mist Splitter, which is especially amazing. That website is I think 5e coded, but Mist Splitter, because the adventure in the Forbidden Lands is happening because in 1165 AS, where we start our adventure, the blood mist has risen, allowing people to poke their heads out again and take a look around. And there is no shortage of adventurers to do that. For whatever reason, the what is this? The form fields on the Forbidden Lands PDF character sheet usually did a good job of sort of resizing things, but for whatever reason, appearance didn't make the cut, and so I just sort of copied what it had over there, and didn't do a good job of that. But yeah, 6'1", has graying hair, cyan eyes. I like this, a slightly cute face. And so we'll see how that plays into it. We're gonna have to figure out some to fill out the weapons and everything here. So first things is that I got a bronze mirror, and a bronze mirror is definitely not something I want to carry with me. And so according to the rules, I can sell that, and I believe the gear is on page 188 of the Game Master's Guide. I might be making that up, but yeah, okay. So simple finds. Let me get this out of the way. Simple finds in a layer, and there we go. Bronze mirror is 2d6 silver. I had written on my character sheet that I had 65 silver, which cannot possibly be true. It might be that I accidentally did a D66 and did 6 and 5, in which case it would have been 11. but this works just fine. So we'll say that we got 8 silver for that, in addition to the D6 silver that we started with, which was 6. And so we're at 14 silver. And the reason why I am calculating that is because we want to buy some armor and stuff like that. Now, we do start with a, I think it's a either a longbow or a staff. Let me bring that up here. Oh, that's on my browser. Yeah, I got this nice perchance generator list for Forbidden Lands. I'll link that below. Yeah, so I get a staff or a long spear, 2 items from the trade goods, D10. Oh, it was D10 silver. Okay, so it'd be 8 plus D10. Let's find what that is there. 7. So it'd be 7, 8, 15. We'll start with 15 silver instead of 14. Yahoo! And silver is the literal coin of the realm. Everything else is sort of like you got to be a big spender to have some gold. But we got that for the bronze mirror. We can get that out of our gear sack. And then as far as the weapons go, that might be in the player's guide here. Let's see if I demarcated that. Yeah, so let me get this out of the way. And so starting on page 179 of the gear, common services, trade goods. So we'll select 2 trade goods. I'm going to need to think about that a little bit because we might want to either sell those or use those. And there's some that sort of fit the explorer archetype, but I'm not sure what I would do with them. For instance, I saw that there's a pen and quill and parchment. And I was like, oh, that would be really cool, a map. But then I was like, am I making a map or is this just, I don't know. So I don't know as far as how trade goods go, if you picked up a pen and quill and a parchment, would you actually use those? Would those have any function, or would I just sell them anyways? I'm not sure. So let's start with melee weapons here. Did I pass those? Yeah. Okay. So we have the choice of staff or a long spear. And I'm going to be a little min-max jerk right now and say staff is 1 silver. It's not giving me... I'm not sure what that says about its like power or anything, but all right. So staff, we know it's 1 silver. It's common. It's made out of 2 wood. And then we can also have a long spear, which is 4 silver, common, normal, talent, smith, tools, forge. I guess that would be to make it. So I'm gonna go ahead and say we'll do a long spear, and let me look that up really quick to see how I would find the stats on that. Okay, easy enough. So we have a long spear is 2-handed, and it's going to give me a +2 bonus. It's still near in terms of range. Staff is 2-handed and is going to give a +1. So if I have the choice, I guess pointed, this one. Oh, I could parry with the staff. That's interesting. Yeah, why not? Because we do have the long bow, and so we'll do a staff and a long bow. So staff and the tabbing doesn't work. So that's a +1, and the damage of that is 1, and it's near. And it is going to give me blunt, hook, and parrying. And again, I don't know if this will show up, but we can just sort of remember that. I like it when it squishes it. No, it didn't squish it, darn. Okay, and now we want to do some purchasing. Let's figure out first the 2 items here. So you could help me out through time. Send me messages mentally right now. Let's figure out a nice setup. This isn't working. I promise I'm a professional. 1 second. Let me take this off the screen here. Oh, and really quick, found this along the way just so we know. Parrying, you block your opponent's attack. It's a reactive action. It requires a shield or a weapon. Roll melee and the gear bonus of the shield or weapon used. So we would roll our melee, which is 1, and we would get add that to the strength 4. That would be 5 die, and then we would add 1 gear die since there's a bonus of +1. Okay, so it's easier to take a look at the trade goods here because it's a 2-page spread, but we already have some arrows, quiver, grappling hook, that could be useful, rope, tallow candle. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's not count the arrows. We don't need that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I guess let's start here at wooden arrows, and we'll move up. We'll roll a d20 and move up to the next most useful thing. I think that'll be if I land on something I already have or that doesn't apply. All right, so 17, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Blanket, okay. I'll take blanket. Isn't that one of Michael Jackson's kids? Okay, so we have blanket, and then we have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Torches, sack we don't need, backpack we don't need, water skin. What is that? Water skin gives us needed to carry water. So I feel like we already have water. I feel like that, like the water skin is already in possession. So I think the next one up would be bandages. So I'm going to add bandages and a blanket. And bandages give us a +1 to healing. And because my strength is 4, I'm just adding this to my list right now. Because my strength is 4, there we go. My carrying capacity would be 8. And I think bandages, they're light, so I think they would only be like half of a object. And viewer beware, I'm definitely going to be eliding some of the rules for Dragonbane. It's not intentional. If I notice it or you notice it, write in the comments. But a blanket is going to give me +1 against cold. Okay. So that could be useful because it's spring, but it's still going to be quite chilly outside. So those will be the trade goods. And I think what we want to do is we want to buy some stuff to protect us here because, and we have 15 coins, but I also wanted to, I don't think I'm going to be able to have any companions right away. Sorry, I don't think I'd be able to afford them, so I think I should just assign myself to one, or assign one to me. And I think, well, actually, no. I think a guard dog at 4 silver would be a fair usage of some of my silver. But let's take a look. If I want to be able to gear myself up, and I promise you, I'm very lightly tapping this so I can erase it. I think because we have 15 silver, let's make sure that we arm ourselves just at the baseline, defend ourselves just at the baseline level, because otherwise we're going to be in a lot of trouble really fast here. So shields, small shield would be 6 silver. A leather shield would be 4. A studded leather cap. Okay. And so I believe that to repair it, this would be the talent needed and the tools needed if we try to repair it on our own. And then we have some clothes. Okay. So what do I need here? I need some armor. And shields and armor. So we could do like the basic RPG starting thing where we have a reasonable, let's do studded leather armor, and I'll figure out what each of Nope. There we go. All right, so we'll say studded leather. Please make yourself, darn it. So I'm just studded. Oh, can I wonder, this usually doesn't work in form fields, but why not? No, I'm not able to remove that. Okay, so studded leather armor. And so that would put me down where studded leather is 6 silver. So that would put me down to 9. And then we'll do a studded leather cap. That would put me down to 6. Okay. And then we'll do a leather shield. So I'm not trying to say anything here. I'm just saying I'm at this point a leather daddy. So then actually this would be one of those situations where a nice GM screen is actually going to help us out here. And let's take a look. So studded leather armor rating is 3. And it looks like the cost of that, 5. And then studded leather cap, the armor rating is 1. Okay. And then the leather shield, it doesn't even have that, unless I'm missing it here. How interesting. Who is going to take the leather shield? Come on, get real. Well, I can go ahead and find that. Let's bring it up in the book. Okay, so it looks like that actually has an armor rating of 3 as well. So this is a nice loadout here. And the studded leather shield would be 3. The leather cap would be 3. And the armor would be 5. So that would be 11. And that would bring me down to 4 silver, which is not bad to start. We have D8 torches, D8 water, D8 food, D12 arrows. Those are step dice. And as far as, so that would leave me exactly enough left for a guard dog, which the stats of that would be on 127 here. It'll leave me with no money, but I've got wits. So, cool. So we have a dog, 3 strength, 3 agility. I'm going to need a name. Where's my name generators? We can use the Game Master's Apprentice here. Get a nice doggus name. Just pull this card right here. Zuma. Ooh, I love that. So the dog is Zuma. And Zuma is very temperate. Ugh. A temperate dog named Zuma. I already love Zuma. Okay, so Zuma. Okay, Zuma has strength 3, agility 3, and melee 1, scout 5, movement 2, bite 1, damage, slashing. All right, so he is he's a good dog. He's a fine dog. He's a lovely dog, and he is a temperate, I'm even going to say reasonable dog. Very good. I love Zuma. And maybe we'll say that Zuma is a battle beagle. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to have to pause and draw Zuma. I'm just taking great care here to make sure that Zuma's ears are worthy, because a beagle, you, I don't even have to say it. You know how important a beagle's ears are. We also want the tail to really, really stand at attention, because everyone knows, and a beagle was my first dog, and so I know that a beagle holds all their power in their tail. I just I wish I was a little bit better artist so that I can really bring out like the battle aspect of Zuma, but I'm trying my best. It's like really hard to bring out the beagleness of beagles. You know, like what, like it's not just the shape, you know, it's like what, there's something missing here. I'm going to have to get a consult from BB when she wakes up, because there's something here that's just not a, I mean, I do love him. He is really nice. Like, this is the thing about Zuma, is that not only is he a good dog, but I like respect. Oh, damn it. I'm recording a video. Sorry. Hold on. So that's Zuma, and we'll keep working on Zuma, but that's basically my battle beagle, Zuma. Okay. That's enough. All right, so I think that covers most of what we're going to need to start here. No mount yet. We have some gear. We have Zuma, who's my best friend. Longbow, staff, studded leather daddy armor, lucky, path of beast, path of navigation, sharpshooter. Wits is my primary attribute. We're all at 4, no conditions. I do feel like my animal handling should have at least 1 in it, because I'll need to have that to work with Zuma. But other than that, I think we're ready to figure some things out about the world. Now, the legend that I drew up, and I really like that system of drawing up a legend about the world, just to remind everybody, we had a legend of a treacherous treasure hunter. It was kind of incredible, because a lot of this coincided with my character. In the age of the Blood Mist, there was a treacherous treasure hunter who sought a treasure, because of duty, traveled to a water source close by, hills to the east. And the legend says that they died in battle, and that at the location there is an elven ruby, but also horrible orcs. And so the story that I came up with actually works really, really well. Well, it's not like I came up with it, I rolled on it, but the story that I created out of it works really well, in that as I learn more about the lore of Forbidden Lands, elves, who... I just hate elves. I just, in every game, I hate elves. I hate, well, maybe Lord of the Rings, because they're not so arrogant. Or if they are, they grow out of it. But I hate that elves are always this like very powerful species with lots of magic and wisdom. And they're always older than the humans. And instead of using that magic and wisdom to help us, they look down on us as like these mules who just drop dead. And then they go and navel gaze and just think about how perfect they are. And Forbidden Lands, unfortunately, is really no different than that. But the elves, they have this thing that's very similar, might I add, to Warhammer, where they have these rubies that when they affix the rubies to themselves, these rubies forged by the god Huge, the elves, that like makes them constantly young. And if an elf was completely obliterated and you took their ruby, it would like reform the elf. And so the idea of having a ruby means that you have the soul force of an elf, and different people do different things to it. Like a human. You have to be pretty disgusting to do this, but it's very thrilling to carry a living being as a piece of jewelry. And then Zytera, who's this like evil sorcerer, breaks the elven rubies into shards to use them in his experimental creatures, which kills the elf and uses its life energy to power demonic abominations. The Russ brothers, which are kind of this fanatical cult, sacrifice rubies to their gods by breaking them with hammers. And so the story was that this treasure hunter they were looking for this elven ruby forever, and they were partners, and one of them finally found it, and then his partner was like, "Did you find the ruby?" And he said, "No, unfortunately not." And he pocketed it and hid it because greed took over. And then his partner died, and in his last will or something, he like willed everything to his best friend, who was this other guy. And so this guy felt bad and went to this bottomless, we'll call it a bottomless pool, and said, "If I can't have this, I should not. It was this ruby that created this greed, and I'm going to make sure nobody's life is as tainted by the greed of this as anyone else's." So goes to this pool, but at that very moment, these orcs were there, intercepted it, killed the guy, but not before he threw this ruby into this bottomless pool. So my character, Jorma, who is this treasure hunter that talks a big game, studies treasure hunting his whole life, but is really just like an intellectual. He's never really discovered anything, just read a lot of books, and it's kind of like somebody who reads Grey's Anatomy front to back, but has never done a surgery or anything like that. Finds this map to this pool where this ruby can be found, according to this old legend. But maybe along the way, we find out that this ruby that was found was from a very powerful elf, and the elves want it back because this elf needs to have the ruby recovered to recover the whole elf, because it was very important and elder. And so maybe we have elves that are going for this ruby as well. And then we have the orcs there who wanted the ruby, and maybe they're still searching for it in the waters of this pond. But what I'm trying to figure out is, using all of that information I just said, and using especially the directions here, traveled to a hill located a day's march away, in some hills in the direction of the east. So I'm trying to find on the map a place where there is some sort of water source that is close by. And by the way, I located the Hollows here, which is sort of like the main town. But I'm looking for a water source that is beyond some hills. And I know that up here is probably where the elves are. And because this is, I could see that there are mountains here. This isn't a color map. I just like this map better. It's easier to label. But maybe the map will say, could it be right here? That's not a very small pool. Let me bring up the color map and see if we can find something a little better on that. All right, so on this map here, we would have pretty much the Hollows would be like right here. And I want it to be a bit of a journey, but I don't want it to be all the way out in the ocean. So there is this Lake Clay, but it looks like there's a town right there, Lake Varda. I'm looking for like a small pool to the east of hills. Lake Clay could be a good one. Could be Lake Mill. Right there. That's right by the Shroud. That might be interesting. I don't really know a lot about these places, so I'm just... Are there any hills? Okay, what if we said that at least the map says that right here in the Shroud... Oh, look at this. There's actually like a little mouth right there. I assume that's actually something. But that's okay. We can put those things on top of it. So we'll say that right here to the right of it, right in the shroud, we will at least say that, let's mark that up here. I'm just using like PDF. We'll say that this is the possible location of the pool. We'll say that this is the pool of, let me just flip pages here. This is the Ever Lake. All right. Or the Ever pool. Yeah, that actually works because it's like an infinite pool. So, oh, didn't want to do that. Okay. We'll say, well, okay, that works. We'll say the Ever pool is right there. I like that. And so maybe we don't start at the hollows. Maybe we start out to the west right here. Like right in this territory, and then we can make our way to the east. And of course, like maybe this map isn't even true. Maybe it's not even real. But this would probably be good just to start in the middle of a forest so that we can get used to some of these solo mechanics and still some things that are specific to the solo guidebook that we're going to have to figure out how to do things like journeying solo. Obviously, I can use Zuma as like a lookout so that I can focus on being a pathfinder, but we'll see how this works. So I'm going to clear the space and ready the space for play. Some good news as well for Zuma. Expanded animal companions. Animals can be an excellent companions to a solo adventurer. The simplest way to handle them is to use the guidelines in the Book of Beasts solo chapter. However, I don't even know if I looked at that. Did I look at that? Because let's see. That's right. We have some card oracles. Okay. So it says the best way to handle them is to use the guidelines. Traveling with a companion can mean the difference between life and death. Okay. The following guidelines will help keep your focus on your main PC. Companions have no willpower points. Okay. So, animal companions. If you'd like to use an animal companion and you want it to act independently, you must take the hunter's path of the beast. Okay. Otherwise, your animal companion can give you a help die. No, we want it to act independently. So, I'm not sure if it has any specific animal companion rules. I think they were just saying like you could use the companion. Okay, well, animal companions have the following additional stats. Wits, used in fear tests. 1 for very small animals, 2 for medium-sized, and 3 for large. Well, I would say that comparatively, Zuma is probably small compared to some of the animals, but he is a battle beagle. So I would say that Zuma is going to get 2 wits. And that's not just me. I think a lot of people would say that. A lot of people would agree with me on that one. So we'll say wits 2. All right, what other treats do we get for scouting is recalculated from the given animal stats by subtracting the wits value above. A dog with wits 2 has a new scout skill of 3. Well, my dog already has... Oh, I see. I shouldn't have done that. No, I don't care. Insight 2. Use like performance to heal your wits or empathy. Okay. So we'll go insight 2. Right. So, because if I am, the way that this works is, if you're not familiar with the year 0 system, is like, if I get a strike here on my strength is tested until 3 until I recover it. And it's the same for any wits, agility, etc., which you can get those in a variety of ways, pushing a roll and failing. Animals always add the relevant attribute score to their skill rolls, but animal companions cannot push a roll as they don't have any willpower points. When they take damage, their relevant attribute is reduced. When broken, a roll on the critical injury table should be made modified with common sense. Common sense dictates whether certain talents or powers damage an animal companion's wits. Help. Animal companions can help on any relevant roll by providing 1 skill die. Keeping watch. An animal companion is the perfect alarm system. When sleeping, your animal companion is considered to be keeping watch, even if asleep. Use their scouting skill to detect an approaching threat. Your animal companion can help you recover wits or empathy, right, by making an insight roll. And animal companions now have wits value. They are also affected by fear attacks. And they have their own experience prompts that could be asked every morning. Did you travel at least 1 hex that you had not visited? Did you help your master defeat 1 or more monsters? Did you alert your master to a threat? Did you help your master recover wits? Animal companions advance skills at the same rate as advised in the official solo rules, though the only skills they can advance are melee, endurance, move, scout, and insight. Endurance. Did my guy have an endurance? Not sure. Let me look that up. This is really so interesting. I didn't even look at this side of the page. There actually is a canine warhound. Let's not go that far. But the only animal that has an endurance rating is a donkey. Why? Why wouldn't a horse have one? I'm giving my guy an endurance of 1 because I want to be able to level it. So I will compromise and bring my scout down to 4. I'm definitely not bringing a beagle scout any lower than that. And we wouldn't want to, in every case almost, scout 3, scout 5, 4. It would never make sense, I don't think, to subtract, like subtracting wits from scouting rather than taking the scouting score of what it is. I don't know how that would, and maybe Three Skulls Tavern, if you see this, let me know what you had in mind here. But to me, we would want to expand the stats by making this person more helpful, right? Because we're at a severe disadvantage in solo play. We have 1 character. We have 1 character worth of items and gear. And so we wouldn't want to, the addition of wits is only useful in making them subject to fear. And so why that would reduce the skill of scouting, I'm not certain, because that would seem like a lose-lose. I would do better than to just ignore that. Okay, well, we'll do melee 1, scout 4, endurance 1, insight 2, movement 2. Bite is 1 damage, slashing, and strength 3, wits 2, agility 3. I'm fine with that. And so that means that the only thing that that Zuma is missing would be empathy, which also would make sense to me for an animal. But yeah, let's just see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. And then here's some expanded travel mishaps. Hunting, weather, Yeah, I could say that the only thing that I'm a little bit, I'm not worried about it, but uh, I'm just like, in terms of, I bring this up all the time, but cognitive load when I am playing is these sort of upkeep tasks that are, I want to make sure that if I have upkeep tasks that I'm responsible for all the time, then they are going to further immerse me in the game. And I'm pretty worried about the the dates and tracking time and tracking down to 15-minute segments of travel. There is really, I wish I knew how to use like GitHub builds, because there is a pretty good companion app on there that helps to advance time. Otherwise, these sheets are very good, right? The Dark Forest Tales sheets, as far as tracking the different times of day. But then if you get even more granular than that, you can say these are 15-minute segments, which I would really only do if I was like delving or doing anything that's similar to that, like going through a forest. But I'm just thinking about, like, every time something proceeds, I have to mark off one of these as 15 minutes, and then I have to look, okay, how are my torches doing? Okay, how's my food and thirst and hunger doing? Now, that's helped out a little bit, given the fact that these are step die that are tracking these, and not like, I don't have to tally them up every time. But it does, to me right now, seem like I'm not because I want to, but just because this is going to happen. My mind is going to be very preoccupied, right, with like, if I'm doing everything right, rolling up these different encounters. I just feel like I'm going to miss this stuff really often, and I don't want to do that. So let me find some step die right now that can track arrows, water, torches, and food. All right, here's what we're going to do to simplify things down a little bit. So I used this case here, and I have my arrows, which are at 12, torches D8, water D8, food D8. Obviously, some of the dice I'm going to be using, Fate Mill to determine things, null dice for NPC encounters, and the card dice to follow that. And then, I'm not sure how well this will work, but I think what I'll do is, every time I advance at least a quarter day, this isn't going to solve necessarily the calendar, or, if we're using 15-minute increments, but, every time we advance to a new part of the day, I'll just add, day, morning, evening, night, and then I'll know that the day is done, and then at least I can keep track of the big picture phases of the day. As far as like dungeon delving, how much we want to do that, we'll see. And then over here, we're going to have our initiative cards, Game Master's Apprentice cards, if we need any like inspiration for anything. If we want to do an actual card draw, we'll keep a deck of cards. And then also could be useful for generating paths. We'll keep the delve deck, and we can put together something if we need to. Okay, I think that's pretty much like, I just added some all the attributes and everything to Zuma, and then I add a little pack to Zuma to just say that we could hold 2 items there as well. I think that's fair enough. And so there is like a little bit of a procedure here for starting the day. And let's see. Oh, I think it's actually in the expanded rules here. Strongholds. We're going to get to strongholds. That's pretty much the entire purpose of this video, is to talk about how we are going to manage strongholds, because that is my big idea of how we can play solo together. And of course, all right, so getting started, we don't have to worry about how did you meet. Zuma's always been there. We created a legend. As far as location, I think what we're going to do is just use, nope, that's the whole world map. Very cool map. Yeah, so since my birthplace was the Harga Wastes, we'll just start here, and then I'll sort of use this to move us around from hex to hex. There's no hex numbering here, which I wish there was, but because then we'd be able to more easily track what's in there. But it says you can start in a hex that is tied to your kin using the map on page 46, so that's what we're doing. Roll for your homeland, we did that. And then the date, just to keep it simple, we'll keep it as the first day of Spring Rise 1165. Once you're ready, it is assumed to be morning. Follow the new quarter day procedure as provided on page 169. So we're going to shuffle the deck of playing cards. That's pretty much assumed to be so because we have our playing card dice. We'll see how this works out. Now, again, I mention this every time, but the playing card dice are great. Obviously the only problem with them is they are not like a true deck, right? Like a true deck you wouldn't be able to roll 12 Queen of Clubs every time. So it's almost like every time you roll this, you have to assume that it's like from a shuffled deck, which for most games that works. Okay, use the XP questions. We haven't done that yet. Roll D6 3 times for weather using the page on 163. Where is this? Oh, 153. So yeah, there are some really cool weather tools, but just to kind of minimize my switching between stuff here, let's just try to use this. So, okay. So we'll go 1 to 2. We'll do, there's no wind and no rainfall. What a great roll. And it's quite cool. All player characters who are not in a camp must succeed with an endurance roll every quarter day or become cold. However, I do have a blanket. And because I have that blanket, I do have a +1 on all endurance rolls for that. So we can, just for practice here, we'd be able to add 1 gear die. And our endurance is going to be 1 plus strength 4. And so we will do 1 skill die and then 4 base die. Base. So again, we're looking for 6s here, and we have a 6. So again, on year 0, having a 1 doesn't matter on the first roll. It only matters if you push, but that's okay. We're not cold. So the morning, it's a bit breezy, but other than that, no problem. And let's see here. Okay. Assign and resolve tasks for PC and companion. And so what I'm pretty certain that means is we would assign our, like, who is the Pathfinder. And I think it's going to be pretty defaulted in this, because there's only so many like configurations we can make here, given that there's only 2 of us, right? And so we would probably have me doing lead the way, and we would have my sweet friend Zuma being keeping watch. And in fact, just so we know how that works, let's go through it from the book here. 78. So we're just leaving town. Say, come on, Zuma, let's get out of here. We have this map. I'm tired of just reading, just pretending. I want to make a name for myself, because it's getting to me. I'm lying about making these great discoveries, but I've only ever read about them. And maybe somebody passed, maybe somebody, I'm not ready to talk about it yet, but this person passed, and this person always encouraged me to be myself. And this is the way to honor them. So it has to be a survival role. That was just like the talent of that. And then we don't want to forget that Jorma has the path of navigation. And the path of navigation, which is specific to these expanded solo rules, that is going to give me the ability to use willpower. Now, I only have one willpower, but when I want to, when you lead the way, you could spend a willpower to succeed automatically. You can roll first and spend the point if you fail. So that's kind of nice because otherwise it might get a bit dicey. Let's see. How am I gonna... This is a very first or second session solo play right now. I'm sort of like forgetting what I have to do at every step of the way, even though I just read it. So let me just review how we are going to travel each hex. All right, so your journey through the Forbidden Lands progresses from hex to hex on the map. The rule of thumb is you can hike 2 hexagons per quarter day in open terrain and 1 in difficult terrain. On horseback, it increases to 3 in open terrain. Short breaks are included in this time, but if you stop more than a few minutes, you might not be able to travel the entire distance. We have forced march, where we can push ourselves. We have mounts, which doesn't apply yet. Lead the way. Every time you move on the map, you must appoint one person to lead the way. This person's the pathfinder. They can lead the way and hike at the same time, but cannot keep watch. Now, with Zuma, he is able to keep watch always. This is the real benefit of that animal companion. Even when he's sleeping at night, he can keep watch because it's just a dog. He can has hyper attentiveness. Usually the entire person will act as pathfinder. That's me. Every time you enter a new hexagon on the map, your pathfinder makes a survival roll modified by the pathfinder talent if they have it. We do not have the pathfinder. And I do have 2 in survival, so that's really nice. So I don't think I would have anything that augments that. And normally I could have a helping role from my dude who is able to scout far ahead, but he is keeping watch. So we will just do 2 skill here, and then we don't have any gear that'll help us. And survival is related to wits, which are 4. So this is 6 dice right here. So hopefully we don't have a mishap right on the first hex. All right, so this is definitely not a mishap because we have actually 3 successes. But if we had a mishap, there can be some problems here that we would run into, which actually in solo play could be quite fun. It's not dark. And we're not going back through the hex. During every quarter day on your journey, you should also designate an adventurer of your group who's responsible for scouting. The lookout can keep watch and hike at the same time, but cannot lead the way. A lookout is useful during the quarter day, even after you make camp. You don't need to have a lookout if you don't want to, but without one, you have no chance to spot threats. The scout comes into play when the GM rolls for a random encounter. And if you're hiking alone, you can lead the way and keep watch at the same time, but we don't really need to because... unless I choose to do something like hunt or forage. All right, so if a random encounter or some sort of threat, the lookout makes a scouting roll to detect it. Make a straight roll, not an opposed roll, unless the threat is actively ambushing you. And so failing the scouting roll means the threat is up close and personal before you notice it. If you find somebody in advance, you can decide whether to show yourself, set up an ambush, or sneak. So what we can actually do here is we would... Let me just mark this page just because I think it will be important. All right, so we will then roll some cards. We'll roll a card here, and then we'll see if there's an encounter. And if there is any sort of encounter that needs to be detected, then we'll have Zuma do a scouting roll. And so we have a 7 of diamonds, and this is a random encounter table. Roll D66 and choose between the ones in the Game Master's Guide and page 123 of this book. Interesting. So I guess we'll roll D66 and then choose. So 54. So on 123. All right. So I think because of where we are right now, I'm not certain that we're in the plains right now. And so we rolled 54, and in the plains, that would be random encounter 22. And so a petrified troll. Now, this page definitely needs to be bookmarked right here if I'm going to be using this one, because this feels like something we're going to come back to often. All right, so then the game, I could look in the GM guide. I don't like the fact that I would be able to choose every time, and so I think I should probably just take a look at the nature of each of these and see which ones seem like the better selection. Encounters on 146. All right, so this is more limited. So we would roll 54, and we're on the plains. That would mean that we are going to encounter 8, the Great Insulter. I actually really like that from a GM standpoint. I guess what I could do is I could set up some sort of rule about whether I draw the encounter from the GM book or if I draw it from the Book of Beast. But right now it does seem easier for me to just work out of the single book here rather than like skipping around and going back and forth. Perhaps if they become a bit stale, maybe then we can move to the GM guide. But for now, let's see what's going on with the petrified troll. And I would roll a scouting roll here. And so this would be 4-2. Suddenly it has come together for me. So the reason why the scouting roll was decreased is because I'm going to add my wits-based dice to that. That makes sense. But even so, I moved my scouting down to 4 instead of down to 3 per the instructions, and I feel better about that in terms of balance and safety and longevity. So if I'm getting like the drop on everybody, maybe I'll reconsider that. But for now, we will do 4 skill and 2 base. And we will see here. All right, so 2 successes. So we definitely see this person in advance. A monstrous silhouette, taller than 2 men, looms farther ahead in the terrain. With its club raised for battle, the figure seems intent on smashing anyone who passes by. It soon becomes clear to the adventurers that the menacing shadow is harmless, as it turns out to consist of half-crumbled rocks covered in moss and lichen. With a successful lore roll, they realize that these are the remains of a troll turned to stone by sun. So what would my lore be here? My lore is 1, and that's tied to wits 4. So it'd be 1 skill, 4 base. No successes. So I was able to see this in advance, and Zuma is barking, and I say, "No, Zuma, no. Look, stop. It's not alive." And we get a little bit closer. Scattered on the ground around it are bones of several unfortunate enemies, as well as their rusted weapons. Adventurers who look around will find D6 silver coins and possibly a weapon of excellent quality that is relatively unscathed by time. So, we'll have to figure out how to manage things like that. We'll say first, do I take a look around? that's up to me. Are there both the silver coins and the weapon here? Maybe. All right, so that's fine enough to say that we will use our... now, this is a little bit of an issue, and I think this is with a lot of Free League games. One of the issues with conversion to solo play is that Free League does not have like observe or perception. They have this thing that says, if your characters look around, find whatever they're looking for, they found it. This relies upon a GM moderation of that. So in terms of how I have to manage this, I have to find some sort of skill for that. And the skills that usually make sense for this are either scouting, if it's just looking around. And the book specifically says, and this says this in more than one Free League book, I'm pretty sure, do not use scouting for perception. But I just don't, otherwise I'm just going to find the thing every time, right? So I think we'll use scouting. We'll add a helper. I can actually decide, well, since Zuma's scouting is 4, I will have Zuma look around and maybe, let's see here. So Zuma's scouting is going to roll 6. I can help with a +1. That's like me helping rather than looking alone. And so I think I will do that. I forgot whether I think me helping adds a skill die, because I don't think it would make sense for me to fail on that. And so we'll say if I find no successes, then I found nothing. 1 success, I found gold, and or silver, and we'll roll for that. And then more than that, 2 or more, I find a weapon. So let's see what I get here. All right, so I got 1 success, so I did find some silver. I didn't find that weapon, which is fine. But silver is actually really good because I was completely out of silver. So we'll just re-roll here, and we get 2 silver. Good boy. Good boy found some silver. So I'm just updating my sheet right now to say I found 2 silver. And yeah, we probably want to keep on moving here, because we're trying to make it to the east. I think that right now the likely path that we know about is to try to make it up to the hollows. From the hollows, maybe I can try to find somebody to help on the quest, a companion, and say I'm looking for somebody who is brave, because I need to make it all the way over here to the Everpool to find out. And maybe I don't tell the person right away what we're looking for, because I haven't learned the lesson of that damn story. Okay, so we will just keep on keeping on here. I think we'll, unless I'm forgetting something, I should be able to travel another hex today before I make camp. So this one, actually, this hex here, this next one I'm going into, looks like it has a little bit of maybe a river, a little bit of a stream, and some, it is mountains, but it's just the edges of them. And so let's see, what would that equal to here in terms of the encounters? It would probably be no. Hills, yes. So we can say mountains. I don't know what a quagmire is, and maybe that's my personal cross to bear. But let me look up if there's any rules in terms of ambiguous terrain. All right, so we'll say that this is mountains, not high mountains. It's just mountains, which means the forage is -1, the hunting modifier is -1, and it is difficult terrain. And so for difficult terrain, I would only I wouldn't really be able to move past this. And this is like a little bit unclear to me, is I can move through one regular terrain or two regular terrain or one difficult terrain. But if I went through a regular terrain and then I moved into difficult terrain, I think it would probably, right now, I'll say that I will enter this terrain, make camp here, and then tomorrow I will leave this terrain and be able to move into one more hex. So I'm kind of dividing it. Maybe there's a better way to do that. I'll look into it. But I think this would be a good time, since I now have probably moved into, not day, morning. Now I'm in day. Is that I will have to, at some point, roll my like food and water and everything like that. So I'm not exactly certain when that happens. We can actually figure that out at the end of the day. I'm just looking at this this time tracker I have, and this would be, I think, if I was like doing a delve or going through a forest or something, anything that resembles a dungeon. Each of these squares is 15 minutes or one turn. One rectangular 4 squares is an hour. 6 hours is a quarter day. But I think just for ease right now, especially, I have a lot of questions right now that I know that I'm going to be able to go back and clarify some things on the next session. That's okay. But maybe once I settle down for the night, I'll roll food and water. We didn't use any arrows or torches yet, but we'll use that to figure that out. And also, this is really nice, is we have this wilderness oracle in the solo guide that will allow us to fill in some flavor details in terms of this mountainous region here. And so we'll say, okay, 9 of clubs. So that would be 9. And I guess no matter what, that's a bubbling spring. Okay, it's a nice little thing here to come up against. We love a bubbling spring. Oh, cool. This is actually some names here. This is good. And some traits. Good. All right, so yeah, we have a bubbling spring. And in fact, gosh, it's like everything that comes up is springing another question. But I'm almost wondering right now, is a bubbling spring like a set piece? Like, is this something that when you encounter a bubbling spring, there is some sort of sequelae that comes from that? So obviously, because I'm in learning mode and I have time and it's early in the day, I'll take a second to look that up. Okay, I'm not seeing anything, but going forward, I could probably use this really good perchance generator just to save us some time. You go on a new hex and it will roll up new weather, oddities, encounters, different mishaps for each of the different moves you can make. So that's pretty good. But just because I'm just trying to learn things now. So there's some bubbling spring on the foot of a mountain here. And I say, wow, this is a pretty tall mountain, Zuma. I don't know if we're gonna be able to make it. And Zuma is like we can make it. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. You probably, Zuma is so loyal that Zuma is thinking, I'll drag you over that mountain if I need to. And it's like, well, why don't we just make some camp here? Okay. I mean, I think that would probably be easiest. And we can also take the time, Zuma, to learn some of the different mechanics that we can do. And maybe we will try to, doesn't look like it's good foraging, but maybe we can try to hunt. And helping is allowed with hunting, Zuma, so maybe you can help me do that. Another way to find food is to hunt. You cannot hike at the same time as you hunt. However, several people can hunt If you want to roll separately, you cannot hunt in the same location, which means that any mishaps will affect you individually. An option is that one of you hunts and the other helps. You need some form of gear to hunt. I do have a longbow. And so we would just roll a d6 to see what it is that we would be hunting. And this would be 4, a fox. The difficulty in that would be -1. So I do have the longbow. You find your prey, which you can do by making a survival roll. Okay, so I have to do a survival roll first to see if I'm even able to find any prey. I say, let's just sit here and hunt. Well, not sit and hunt, but survival, I have 2 on that, and that is tied to wits. So I will get some help as well from Zuma. But you know what? I'm getting way ahead of myself right now because we have not even done the sort of Pathfinder roll when we come into this new hex here to see if there's any mishaps. So it's the same roll. We're going to do 2 survival skill, and we're going to do 4 wits, and I do not have anything. No, that's going to help with that. So let's just see. Nothing. Okay, so we actually failed the survival roll, which is good. We will see what happens right off the bat here. Leading the way, mishaps. So oh, no. Okay, so if you knew this already, you probably were very frustrated with me. So it doesn't take a whole quarter day to hike. Sorry, it doesn't take a whole quarter. We can go 2 hexes on open terrain in a quarter day, and I can go 1 hex per quarter day on difficult terrain. And so I guess what I'll have to figure out here is like I went through open terrain, so that was like 1/8 of a day. And now I have difficult terrain, which is 1/4 of a day. So it will take us 1/4 of the day to get through the mountain hex. And I think we'll be able to actually do that. But I did fumble the leading the way. And so we'll do a D66 now. 52. Fog. You are caught unawares by a thick fog. The distance you cover this quarter day is decreased by 1 hex. In difficult terrain, you're stuck in the hex you started. In addition, each adventurer suffers 1 point of damage to empathy from the gloomy mist. So our empathy is brought down to 2, and we're pretty much stuck in this one. So I wonder, too, if there's some sort of scouting. I mean, it would make sense that in fog there's some sort of scouting. So I'm all mixed up now in terms of where we are in the day. But let's just say this. I went through the first hex. That took 1/8 of a day. Then 1/4 of a day is taken up from this hex. But because we had that extra 1/8 from the first hex, we'll just say that this is it. We're stopping here for the night because it's foggy. We can't see our way forward. We failed that roll. That gives us that. So I led the way. And I guess we can check scouting with our friend to see if there's anything coming along here. So all right, so as usual, Zuma rises to the challenge where I do not. And Zuma does see whatever is coming. But let's now actually check to see if there is anything of note here. Solo rules wise, we will do a card pull. And this is a king of clubs. We draw a card and consult the chart on 170. And so the card we draw is a 2 of hearts. And a 2 of hearts is no encounter. So there's no encounter. And now I think that I should hunt and then make camp. I think it's the right way to do it, right? I mean, I don't know. What I have to figure out here is like, I'm not going to be able to, I lead the way. Zuma scouts, keeps watch. And so I can hike and I can lead the way, and Zuma can hike and keep watch. But if we're going to forage or hunt, that probably, we can't move and do that. So I think that will be the last action that I do before I make camp. And that way, then we can just try to make camp and bring this day to a close. So should we try to, foraging would be a really bad idea. But why not, you know? I mean, you only live once. All right, I'm going to figure out how to hunt. That'll be good. Do a little help. Okay, right. So I'm going to do a survival roll. And because survival being 2, that will determine if I'm able to even find a prey. I don't really need food. I just want to try this, though. All right, so 2 successes, very nice. 3 successes, wow. So we really maybe even use that to our advantage. And then we said that we were hunting a fox. Oh, roll on the table above to see what type of animal it is. If you roll multiple successes, you can re-roll on the hunting table once per extra success. To kill your prey, you must roll again, this time for marksmanship, or survival again if you're using a trap. We're going to use the bow because I have a marksmanship advantage. So I'm good with the fox because then I get -1 difficulties. So you don't need to fight the animal. Rolling once is enough. The table of the upper left indicates how many units of meat and pelts the meat can be cooked by a chef or at an inn. You could eat the meat raw. If your survival roll fails, you suffer a mishap. You don't get the food. So I'm trying to figure out, like, difficulty is -1. So does that mean I get an additional... I think that means I get an additional skill die. Because modifiers in this wouldn't... I just need a success. So if, 1 success -1... So I have sharpshooter, which I'm not going to use right now. That'll be using my willpower to just make this automatic. But I will use my marksmanship, and that is going to be a 2 skill, +1 because it's -1 difficulty, and then agility is 4. So we'll do that, and we'll see if I get my little fox. Yes, so I did get a success. I got a fox with my longbow, and that gives me 3 meat and 1 pelt. And as far as how meat goes, the table of the upper left indicates how many units of meat. The meat can be cooked by a chef or at an inn, and then it is turned into an equal amount of food. You can eat meat raw. You then consume a unit of meat instead of rolling your resource die for food. You need to do this within a day or the meat will be spoiled. So yeah, I'm going to go paleo diet here. I'll eat the meat so that we don't have to roll that. And because I was at a stream, I can't fish really because I don't have a fishing rod or anything. So now we just have to figure out how to make camp. And I think then we'll talk about my stronghold plan because we're already quite into the video here. All right, so it's evening now. We are going to make a fire. Preparing where to sleep takes a whole quarter day. That's fine. Usually the evening. Only one person rolls to make camp, but the others can help. Make a survival roll modified by the quartermaster talent. I don't have that. And so survival is going to be 2 skill. I don't think that my good buddy, as talented as Zuma is, I don't know if Zuma is going to help me make camp. And survival is modified by our wits of 4. If your roll succeeds, then you find a sheltered and comfortable place to spend the night where you can all rest up before the next day's journey. If the roll fails, your camp's less pleasant. You still set up camp where you can rest and sleep, but the GM makes a hidden roll on the mishap table. And they can, so we'll have to figure that out. And of course, Zuma is always going to be standing guard, even when he's sleeping. And they will sleep during some other quarter day the next day. So that doesn't apply to us here. And so we do have a success. So we're able to set up camp, and resting by the campfire is a good opportunity. So I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm going to rest and then sleep because I'm not moving into a new hex. But I do think I have to make a keep watch roll on the night. As you can see, there's lots of studying for me to do. But hey, this is the way that we figure this out. You know, this is the best way to do it here. So the fastest way to recover is for someone else to treat you by rolling or performance. This is a slow action but cannot be performed at an arm's length. All right, so basically, because Zuma has that insight of 2, and 2 is modified by wits, which is also 2, Zuma is going to be able to help me to recover here with a successful roll. Zuma is sitting by my side. No, nothing. And I could push here because even though I rolled 2 1s, those don't count, but it would just be these 2 dice. So not going to even chance it. That could lead to something worse. It's not really worth it. Yeah, and I guess just sleep is sleep. So I don't think there's anything that I'm going to recover through just sleep alone. I think the problem is if you don't sleep, then you get a condition here. Once back on your feet, you will recover all remaining lost attribute points. Okay. Once back on your feet, you'll recover all remaining lost attribute points by resting or sleeping for a quarter day. So this is actually like if I'm broken, but just by sleeping, I am able to get rid of this little, and I'll show you this if you're not familiar with it. So I would get rid of this, which would put my empathy for intensive purposes of the die roll back up to 3. And then we would just keep watch during the night. Again, we would use Zuma's Scout of 4 and wits of 2 just to see if anything goes down during the night. And of course, Zuma keeps me safe. However, I still think, not sure if I have an encounter while sleeping, but I'm trying to figure out if there is if during the night I have to keep watch. I remember seeing something about a failed keep watch roll during the night does not alert you of something coming, but it doesn't mean that something's not coming. So let me make sure that I'm doing that correctly. Okay, that makes sense. So when I rolled on the to make camp, that's when I could have had a mishap that would have led something coming up on me at night that the lookout would then have been able to see in advance. And so I do guess that because I have that meat, I don't think that Zuma minds eating raw meat. So we'll consider that. And then let's just roll water here. And actually, I can just use these and keep those as the labels for that. So we're going to roll water. And again, if I roll a 1 or a 2, then that means my water will go down to D6. And luckily we rolled a 6, so no effect to water. Our food is covered because of the meat that we found while hunting. And the last thing that I would have to figure out here is like torches during the night, because the one thing that confused me a little bit about that was this sheet here said roll torches, resource die, each turn lanterns burn for 1/4 day. But I did build a fire, so we will just I'll write that down on the card of things that I need to look up. So this is night. We'll stop there as far as that goes. But I did want to talk about the idea that I have here. I've always been thinking about how to collaboratively play this game. Well, play any solo game. And I know that that doesn't seem to make sense, but let me define further. So I like playing solo, and I like playing in groups too. And one of the things I like is the idea of how could you have a solo game in which there is some level of collaboration that can happen asynchronously. And I think the stronghold is the way to do it. So my plan is once I find a stronghold, I'm going to establish it. Strongholds are one of my favorite things in tabletop. It's the closest a man gets to a dollhouse, and we all know that all of us wanted a dollhouse, just like we all wanted an easy bake oven, and the creepy crawlers oven never did it for us. We wanted to actually bake things, and we wanted, they should have had some sort of like log cabin dollhouse. That would have been great, so that it didn't threaten me. But this is this way to have like this passive improvement project. And especially in solo play, it's one of the small games, mind games, so to speak, that could be played to keep me interested and keep me motivated to play. So I thought what would be cool is if I had other people playing Forbidden Lands, and they could play their own adventures completely. It can almost be like that respawn spot in like Dark Souls games that you come back to, and it goes, our stronghold exists like extemporaneously. When you return to it, it's our shared stronghold. But then when you leave it and go into your lands, it can be whatever hex it is on your lands. It can be whatever situation is going on in your game. The stronghold persists. We all access it wherever we access it. And the thing about Forbidden Land Stronghold that makes it so cool is that you need resources and tools and time to build new parts to the stronghold. Like you could put in a fireplace, a shooting range, a shrine, an inn, a library, etc. So my idea is, and what I'm doing with the SEAL Team Waffle Alpha members on the Discord, is seeing who wants to join the stronghold. And once a week, I'll like function as the semi GM, just in terms of like rolling up any sort of events that happen. And all of us would be responsible for bringing in raw materials, dedicating some level of work, and if need be, defending the stronghold once a week. We wouldn't have to play out full combat. This could be all mediated through like the Discord server at the beginning of the week, just being like, okay, this week there was a fire, and so anybody who wants to roll a d6, please roll a d6 and let me know the result by Friday. And then we would figure out what are the effects of that based on everyone's roll, and there'd be some way to multiply it by the number of people participating or whatever. And then we would also vote once a week on what projects we want to work on. And so say we were like, okay, we want to build an inn, vote on that or whatever, and then say, okay, who has a builder talent? And then those people can roll in terms of like the work put into it. And then we say, okay, we need 250 wood. or 500 stone. So when you're out adventuring this week, make sure if you find any wood or stone that you bring it back here. And anytime anyone wanted to put in some work hours, or whenever you're solo playing, you come back to the server and just say, hey, I invested 1/4 day work into this. And then when it's done, we all have the inn, and then we all get the effect of the inn, which is every day that it's staffed by a player character or a hireling, which is another thing that we manage together, like a staff, up to 12 units of meat or vegetable can be turned into an equal number of units of food. And then we all benefit from that. We all get to enjoy that. The hirelings, we'd all be responsible for like managing them and also paying them. And then if there were any events or battles, we would just sort of deal with that through text. And so it's a very low commitment. Like if you did not log into Discord at all for a week, that would be fine. You just didn't participate in anything that week. There could be one person who participates in something, and it's just like the upkeep of that is once a week, right? Is once a week we say, okay, we were able to pay this many hirelings. We put this many work hours in. So here's the status of this, and here's if anybody wants to do anything. And it would be a way for everybody to go out, solo play, and then bring that back, and we can build this awesome stronghold together. And we can even like make pictures of it and stuff like that. So if you're interested, please consider joining SEAL Team Waffle Alpha, $3.99 a month. You also get a podcast. 55BB and myself are recording the next episode in just a few hours. You also get members only posts. You know the score. Pendragon, if you're interested in those playthroughs. But yeah, and then if you are already a member and you are not part of the Discord yet, please just message me at my Discord name, which will be in the description below. I do access on a one-to-one basis because, you know how Discords could be if I just make it a free for all. So we'll, once I find a place that looks like a good spot for a stronghold, I'll establish that. And then I have a dedicated channel to that I'll be updating and talking about in future videos. But yeah, this was tough. You know, this is a tough session. This is very much what a first and second session looks like. This is why people usually quit out in first or second sessions. A lot of people like to develop these things, but when they start playing. But what I want you to know is that if you get through character creation and everything, and you get through a first session, it seems really hard, but this opens up a new chapter in your brain, because now I have a lot of things in place. And yeah, there were a lot of questions I had, a lot of things I still have to figure out, but I've like updated my firmware, and I'm going to be able to play faster and more confidently next time. And now that I've gotten through that, and it was a bit of a struggle, but I've gotten through it, and now I'm feeling really motivated for the next session. So hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if there's anything that I didn't do as well as I could, or you had any ideas for how to do things differently. And I hope that some more of you join. We have, I think, about 4 or 5 now that are interested in being part of the Stronghold. So probably going to start that next week. So yeah, if you're interested, please join, and hasta la vista, baby. Hasta la vista. Until the view. Hey, let me know if you're on this list, or you should be and you're not. I want to update it because, you know. Oh,